There are certain questions that people will not stop asking until the answer is yes, like, have you gotten your driver's license? Have you figured out what you want to do with your life? Are you going to give me a grandchild? But when it comes to retro gamers, perhaps the biggest question that we get is, have you played Chrono Trigger yet? And if your answer is no, well, people have ended friendships over far less. Now, with Chrono Trigger being the much-loved game that it is, the retro gaming community does have a place for those who haven't played it yet. Retro Gaming Jail. Well, unlock my jail cell because this old jailbird is flapping its wings on out of there. That's right, I finally played all the way through Chrono Trigger a few months ago, and I've mentioned this here and there, and naturally some of you have responded with, okay, well, what did you think of it? Okay, so for starters, this video is going to be kind of spoiler-ish, but not too many spoilers because I know a lot of you have still not played this game as you've mentioned before. So I'm not going to be giving away anything crazy like how the game ends or anything like that. But with that said, first thing I want to talk about is the characters, because Chrono Trigger is known for having such lovable characters. For me, I've got two favorites that really stick out, and the first one has gotta be Frog. Yes, like a lot of people, I loved Frog. Now, I've known about his theme song for a very long time, and I've always considered it one of the best character theme songs ever made. Now, when you learn about what his backstory is, I think it makes the theme song even more epic. Basically, he lost his friend and he's trying to avenge his friend, do his friend proud. Now, my best friend in real life, we've been best friends for a long time, and one of our big things is that we're super loyal to each other, so I felt like I could sort of identify with Frog in a way. And I always feel like if for some reason something terrible happened to my friend, I'd want to be turned into a frog so that I could do him proud, but let's hope it doesn't come to that. In the game, Frog gets turned into a frog as if it's a bad thing, but us playing the video game, seeing as it is a video game, we're just like, this is freaking awesome, he's a frog. And it just makes the character so likable. The way you're moving around and he kind of hops around, they did a great job animating the way he moves. There's just so many little details put in there that make his character a lot of fun to use. All the attacks are super fun. And speaking of which, the attacks, I love the battle system in this game. It feels like there's just the right amount of battles. There's never too much, and when you do the battles, they're really fun. Yeah, I found the game's battle system to be deserving of all the hype it gets. Being able to combine attacks amongst your characters was just so much fun because it really made the battle system so much more interesting, because what you're essentially doing is experimenting with different combinations of characters to see what kind of attacks you can do. And the fact that you can do it with as many as 3 characters all combining together, that just feels so satisfying to pull one of those off. What I found to be especially satisfying about experimenting with the attacks is that it felt like preparation for some of the big boss battles where you really need to have a plan in store. At least that's what I found. If I didn't have my crap together for a boss battle, I would just get destroyed. So I'd have to be like, okay, what am I going to do with this character? What am I going to do with that character? Should I combine these attacks and use that and then use the other character to heal? Or what should I do? There's so many different possibilities, and I found it extremely rewarding to come up with a plan for how I wanted to tackle each boss fight and then seeing how well it all panned out. Okay, but I want to circle back to the other character that I really liked a lot, and that would be Robo. I know he has a more official name, like I think Prometheus or something like that, but I just named him Robo because I thought it was kind of fun and endearing. So yeah, I liked Robo. And what I liked about Robo so much is that he kind of represented the whole don't do what you're told to do. I mean, he's literally told by his own kind, all right, you're just a robot programmed to do this one thing. And he's like, no, I want to hang out with my friends and go try to save the world. And I interpreted Robo as being a very clever metaphor for how a lot of us real human people may sometimes feel like robots, just told to do this one generic specific thing and not have that independence, that autonomy that I think ultimately makes a lot of us really happy. You know me, I'm all about being yourself. Alright, but speaking of some of the other characters, I got an impression of one of them that I've been working on, and I think it's pretty good. So let's see if you can guess who it is. That's right, if you guessed Chrono, you guessed correctly. Everybody's favorite person who doesn't talk. Now, this is a pretty common technique in a lot of these games so that you can kind of put yourself in place of them and feel like it's you in the game instead of that character. Some people like it, some people don't. In the case of this game, I think it works just fine. Okay, but the overall story itself, how did I feel about that? I loved it because it makes you feel like you're on an adventure, and I just love it when games or movies or anything do that. Now, the time travel aspect is interesting to me because, in general, I'm not a big fan of time travel elements in games or movies or what have you. And funny enough, I feel like that's something most people are a fan of. So I was a little skeptical that I would enjoy it, but lucky for me, I did. And I think the reason why I like the way this game did it is because they didn't make it too overcomplicated. And also what they did was they allowed you to play around with it in some fun ways. Even just small details like how you can get better items that are in the same place, but depending which time period you go to, the items will actually be better and you can pick them up. I thought that was so cool, and there's so many little things like that they put in to make the time travel element a huge positive. Now, using the time travel, you get to go to a lot of different cool places, but perhaps my favorite place that I went was back to my couch in the 1990s. That's right, even though I hadn't played this game when I was a kid, it made me feel like I had. Now, one thing I would say about the game that's not necessarily a criticism, but more so just I liked this part of the game more than that part of the game, was I actually preferred the first half of the game to the second half of the game. And this is because of its more linear nature. I just like it when the game designer kind of gets to craft the experience for me, rather than me deciding where I want to go and what I want to do, all of that, which, funny enough, I think the second half of the game, for a lot of people, that's their favorite part of the game. So that's really just a personal preference, where I think that would actually be a huge selling point for a lot of other people, having that more open-ended second half of the game. Alright, but that about does it for my thoughts. It's certainly a game that I could recommend for fans of RPGs, and if you're not sure if you like RPGs or not, then this game would be a great test to figure out if you do or not. Of course, a lot of you have already played the game, and I'd be curious to hear how your thoughts line up with mine. Did you agree with some of what I said? What are your favorite characters? Do any of you have Robo and Frog as your top two favorite, just like I do? I'd be really curious to hear that. So leave your comments down below, and I will see ya in the next video.